Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about data quality. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, is ensuring data quality one of the top challenges faced by all software engineering organizations? Yes and no. I would say that for a small company, no. Data quality is usually not an issue at small scale, depending on the nature of this is because there's a secondary subtle thing to this, which I would like to amend to your question here. We're gonna get on to that. But for large organizations, holy shit, yes. Oh yes, yes, 1,000 times yes, yes to all the things. Data quality in large organizations, that's a shit show. It is so bad for the average company because they have a domain that is so big that it's basically impossible to not create duplication and half-baked solutions and like a data, like the freshness of the data, like all of this sort of stuff. And then let's not even talk about ownership and like who owns this data, what systems are mutating it, are there multiple sources of truth, is there one master system? Well, that would be really nice, but no, there's actually this other product over here that is now, that used to be the, it's sort of like, this is what I've made this analogy before, guys. Software development is very similar to growing a tree. If you start with a small little, like a little seed, your tree is very simple, and then it grows, and then it gets a trunk, still simple, and then it grows some more and it starts getting branches. Now you're getting into trouble, and then all of a sudden after a while you have like this tree which is beautiful in its own way, but it's like this sort of nestle things between twigs and like branches who sort of go off in different directions. And then you have some junior software developer with a college education, or maybe sometimes not even that, come in and say, this is really shit. Why aren't you doing microservices? And you just try to forgive them for they know not what they do, or say in this case, and you try to explain to them that all this company and all these systems, one of these services is like they're older than you are and me and the guy who pays our salary. Because once upon a time there was a really old system that became the new system, and then they realized that it had limitations in technology and specification, and they had some incompetent people, blah 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 blah, and they made some caching solution or some temporary fix for something which wasn't really ideal, and then that became the new way of doing things. And then they went into sunset mode because there's a new awesomer team or more cooler way of doing things that came in with new management, and now they became the new upstream system, which is just it's a downstream system from another system. And then now there is like, they almost act like a new source of truth where nobody really figured out that this is probably a bad architecture, and then it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And then you sit there as the current generation and you realize that holy shit, there's like 50 different systems that all have part of one single model. So yes, this is definitely one of the top problems, and there is really there are ways to fix this. Absolutely, but you sort of have to realize that as I was saying, some of these companies, guys, in the large companies, they have been around before the internet, and they're transferring something that used to be on paper to the digital landscape, and they, trust me, do not have, in many cases, top talent, because they don't know how to hire them, and nobody wants to. The cool millennial programmers, like who the fuck wants to work for a bank or like a car company or something like that? They want to work for Google. They want to work for like Airbnb or Facebook or Spotify, or like these up and coming, like these sort of companies that have understood or like sort of learned the value of employer branding and all this sort of good stuff, right? That's where all the prestige is, right? So they're forced to hire either subpar people or consultants who sort of, have their own political agendas, etc., and sort of do what they can. And that is definitely a major problem. It is fixable. There are architectures that can sort of solve this, but this is more of this is the reason, guys. This is the reason why cyber warfare and so forth can be so devastating in the right organization. You have no idea how much damage the wrong hacker group or like the wrong flaws within a digital system can have, like what the impact of that can be on an organization, where some people who work in that organization, guys, they basically don't know what a computer is, but they have to know it because now we're moving everything to like we're starting to use computers. And I know for the millennials out there, you go, oh, why don't we just fire all these people, etc. Yeah, go ahead, try it. It's not going to work. I promise you that much. So yes, data quality is a massive issue at larger scale. At smaller scale, it's usually not much of an issue because you don't have, your domain is much smaller. You might have, a business domain that is maybe 10, 20 domain entities or something like that. Like the general size of all the features and all the concepts within that domain is very small. But as I was saying, in the large companies, guys, they have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of different entities and pieces of information that hold relevancy to different parts of the system, etc. You have no idea how complicated some of this stuff is. It's so big that you can have like the highest level managers have no idea how it works. In order to figure out how, I've worked in situations like this, guys, and where if you want to ship a single feature, anything, it is literally a month of investigation before you can ship it, because you need to find out who knows what. Most people you talk to within your department, they don't know how this works, and now you have to go and find someone who knows somebody else who might have heard about some dude or some girl over in the other part of the complex that has something. Then they are not a programmer or anything like that. They're like just some person who works in support who might know which system has this information. And then when you find that out, you need to go and find the team that owns that, and you realize that, hey, nobody owns that, or rather it's just part of this other system that does something completely irrelevant, and now you have to ask them, can you please fix this so that I can get this data? And then that's another month. The real challenge, I think, which is the thing that is usually consistent across all companies of any meaningful scale, is not just the data quality, but the understanding, the education of what the data actually means. Number one issue I have usually in every organization I've worked with that has any type of users, so like when we're talking about internal data quality and understanding of your own business models and your own domain, is that a lot of the people who work with the internal systems and so forth, they don't really know what the significance of certain pieces of information are, especially in the large organizations. You can have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different values in a database with different data points and so forth, and then you show that to some person who works within that organization and they don't even know what the data means. They don't know what all these different codes are, or what this value, does this value mean that is signed up users? Yeah, but does signed up users mean people from this category or that category, or globally from all markets, from one market? Like, what does this actually mean? Just not understanding the domain of your own business is a huge problem. It's enormous. So what I want you to take away from this is that, yes, I will go as far as to say that data quality is one of the biggest problems that all software companies have at larger scales. Not so much of an issue in smaller companies usually, unless you have a lot of integrations, because that's where it comes into the other part, as I was saying. It's when you don't really understand what the data means, because you have guys, this is what I do this on a daily basis. I sit with systems that have been existing for longer than I have been alive, or rather, like the domain model is older than I am, and trying to just look at, okay, here I got something that meant that, like a field from a JSON response, and the answer is something arcane. It's a custom code of some sort, and it's supposed to represent, in this scenario it was for a car company, it's supposed to represent the engine type. Okay, hey guys, does anybody know how the manufacturers are creating these codes and how that correlates to something, understandable to the user, so the user knows what they're buying? Because that code is just an ID for like the product number within some domain system. No? Okay, let's hope that my manager knows, and if he doesn't know, like let's see that his manager knows, and then you go on the journey to figure out what does that data even mean. And the same thing goes for business people, product owners who are trying to figure out like, here is some metrics showing like all the usages or like the retention, etc., etc. Yes, but we have many different types of users. Which users are we talking about? The semantics, guys, the data quality plus semantics and understanding what the information actually represents is very, very difficult. And I would say that to a certain degree, every single software company has that problem. Have a great day.